Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, well it's official. If you live in New York, or rather if you live in New York City, sanity has left the building. It no longer exists. The woke left has totally taken over. I think the intention for most New York voters in electing Eric Adams was that he was going to be less insane than Bill de Blasio. Most people viewed him as a moderate. He was an ex-police chief. They thought that he'd be pretty tough on crime. I think that's what won him the seat in the first place. Of course, there's the other faction who literally just vote for anything as long as it's blue. A D next to the name? Simply say no more. You got my vote. And even I, or I guess the collective right, at the time celebrated it as a victory. Not because conservatives thought Eric Adams would do a stellar job and would be a decent Democrat or a decent common sense leader, but just because we kind of viewed it as the end of the whole defund the police nonsense. Away from the insanity and hopefully back to some more close to common sense policies and politics, even in left-wing cities, was the hope. Well, no. It may have seemed like that for the first couple of months that he was in office, but the mayor of New York is following in the same Bigfoot tracks as the oaf that previously resided the office. New York Democrats are out of their damn minds. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so the radical left activist faction has had some pretty crazy ideas, they've had some pretty weird, crazy activist stances previously. Defund the police was one of them, but one of the craziest ones was the healthy at any size movement. That's the type of stuff that leaves you dumbfounded. And it's the kind of thing you thought would exist only on Tumblr, maybe a little bit on TikTok, and then eventually it would fizzle out as people, come to their senses, use basic rational thought, that no, being 500 pounds is not healthy, and it certainly isn't something that should be normalized. The claim that a lot of these activists make is that they get treated differently by doctors, or doctors tell them, basic truths about their health, and they view that as facing discrimination. It's some real Looney Tunes stuff. Well, it's now some real mainstream New York Democrat Looney Tunes stuff. New York City mayor bans height and weight discrimination and says body type has nothing to do with health. The Democratic mayor of New York City outlawed discrimination against people on the basis of their weight and height in the Big Apple. Height, okay, kind of makes sense, but the rest of it, not so sure about that. Adams signed the law into practice on Friday while surrounded by, quote, fat liberation supporters. We all deserve the same access to employment, housing, and public accommodation, regardless of our appearance, and it shouldn't matter how tall you are or how much you weigh, said Adams at the signing ceremony. I'm gonna go ahead and say no, especially on the issue of employment. There's a lot of jobs that require you to be at least relatively active or to be on your feet for basically 8 hours a day and sometimes overtime, and simply put, if you're not physically capable or if you're not as fit as the next person, well then you're simply not qualified for the job. That's not discrimination. It's a simple job criteria that makes sense. Let's go to the issue of insurance, for instance. If you're a young athlete with no medical issues, you don't drink, you don't smoke, if you're looking to get life insurance or something, you'll get a pretty favorable deal. However, if you have a long history of medical issues, you're 500 pounds, you regularly drink and even smoke, well, you're probably uninsurable. Is that discrimination based on weight? No, once again, it makes total sense. But it doesn't end there. Eric Adams is now going as far to basically parrot healthy at any size talking points and claims that the science shows that this statement is correct.
I'm a person that believes in health. So when you talk about not discriminating against someone because of their body type, is not fighting against obesity. It's just being fair. And so I think this is the right thing to do. We're going to continue to talk about our progressive health agenda. And science has shown that body type is not a connection to if you're healthy or unhealthy. And I think that's a misnomer that we are really dispelling.
Science has shown that body type is not a connection to if you're healthy or unhealthy. What? It's literally a direct visual representation in almost every single instance. This is out of your mind wokeness. This is nonsense grievance politics. Inventing problems where they don't exist. This is the definition of first world problems. In other countries, people struggle for food. In America, having an abundance of food, eating like a 13th century gluttonous king to the extent that you become so unhealthy that you start to encounter problems in your everyday life, apparently that's discrimination and a struggle. It's not. Stories like this, which went viral last week, all kinds of commentary channels were covering it. You are not a victim of discrimination. If anything, you're a victim of yourself and your own decision making. And you are not entitled to an entire row of seats because of your own physical reality. I mean, maybe if you're disabled and it's something completely out of your control and the airline accommodates it, sure, but anything else just simply doesn't make sense. And I don't know what Eric Adams is doing here. Honestly, I think he's just a politician like the rest of them. He's simply doing what he has to. I mean, the narrative last year was that liberals were furious with him. The mayor's crime plan is loathed by liberals, but it might work. After taking heat from the radical left, he's now throwing them a bone, so to speak. It's either that or he's gone completely woke, which might be the case because the craziness doesn't end with the whole healthy at any size thing. He's now going soft on crime woke. After winning an election, basically promising to do the opposite. Eric Adams' insane new soft on crime plan. Here are some bullet points put together by Fox 5. Eric Adams' new plan to crack down on shoplifting in NYC. Give first-time offenders intervention programs instead of prosecution. De-escalation training for retail employees. In other words, retail employees just sit back and let it happen. Establish neighborhood retail watch groups to share theft info in real time with one another and NYPD. Install kiosks in stores to connect would-be thieves with social service programs. Don't rob the store, Mr. Criminal. Simply take a look at the social services pamphlet left for you at the front of the store. There's help for you, Mr. Criminal. In most instances, what's probably going to happen when a criminal is met with that scenario is shut up and empty the register, or a pistol whip and a continuation of the crime. We have reached peak left-wing woke insanity. And New York is one of those epicenters, and what a slap in the face to New York voters. We've covered multiple times throughout multiple different polls. The number one issue in New York City for New York voters is crime. And this is what New York politicians are doing. And when they're not implementing soft on crime policies that's enabling this environment where law-abiding citizens are being victimized, if it's not that, then they're going after Donald Trump for non-existent crimes and tackling serious issues like weight discrimination. We've lost our minds. The Chinese and the Russians must be laughing at us. I mean, literally, I think that's exactly what they're doing. And I don't really blame them at this point. We have lost the plot. We have lost connection with basic common sense, basic societal and policy principle. It's only a matter of time until we go so woke that we end up falling off the edge. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.